Yeah. I'll start waffling just in case anyone's
there.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Architecture, Design and Planning webinar. This is part of our Life at Sydney webinar series. My name is Sean. I work here at the University of Sydney along with Erica. We work in recruitment, and today we're going to be doing a webinar on architecture, design and planning. So we'll start off with a really brief overview of Sydney and then get into the more specific details about the courses that we offer. And you will also hear from one of our current PhD students, Ariel, who's sitting alongside me now, and she'll jump in when I finish. We're waiting for everyone to just join us now. We've got a couple at the moment that have joined. If you'd like to let us know where you're watching this from, go head down to the chat box. It's just at the bottom of your screen there. You can just let us know where you're from. That'd be really great to hear from you. We'll get going shortly. All right. We've got a couple of people at the moment. We might just wait for a couple more to join before we start going. All right, that might do it. We've got a couple there. Just let us know where you're coming from, where you're joining from, and we'll get through the presentation. Okay, so why study at the University of Sydney? I'm an alumni of the University of Sydney. I grew up in a really sort of regional part of New South Wales before deciding to go off and undertake university study. The University of Sydney to me offered a really good marine science program, and that's my background is in marine science. So I came here directly out of high school, did a 4-year undergraduate degree, and now I'm back working at the University of Sydney in recruitment, specifically for North America. Eric, would you just like to add a bit about your background?
Sure.
And what your experience at the uni?
Okay, well, I've been working in student recruitment for about 10 years. Most recently, I've been looking after the School of Architecture, Design and Planning, as well as the Sydney Law School, answering student questions and speaking to prospective students as they come up.
Okay, right. So this part of the presentation is really just to give you an overview of what it might be like to live in Sydney if you're coming from overseas. And just it might help you to get around, it might help you to just sort of find your feet when you come here. So Sydney itself is quite large. It's Australia's largest city. It's the economic centre of Australia, and you're in a really good position at the University of Sydney you're really a walking distance away from the CBD or downtown for our American cousins. We're really friendly. It's one of the most livable cities in the world, actually. That's owing to things like our medical system, our education sector, as well as the fun activities you can get involved in around the city. We're really popular with international students. At the university itself, I think we're about 30 to 40% international. So we're really, really diverse. Coming from a really regional town like myself, I didn't have a lot of access to that. So that was one of the best things about moving to Sydney, and the University of Sydney in particular, was meeting everyone from different backgrounds, and just getting a different perspective on the way they view the world. This is a really nice photo of Sydney Harbour here. I'd just like to take this opportunity to point out some of our different campuses. The majority of students, especially in architecture, design and planning, will be on our main campus here in Camperdown and Darlington. We've got various other campuses along here as well, through our music students, our dental students, our MBA students, as well as our health science, fine arts and vet students as well, some out here. So we have almost 60,000 students, or 60 to 70,000 students, depending on who you ask. And we're spread out over a bunch of different campuses. Some of our students are studying overseas, but the majority, including any architecture students, will be on our main campus. Okay, so this is just a bird's eye view. We're really close to a lot of public transport systems around Sydney as well. So really close to bus routes, Redfern station. So getting around is really easy. I actually sold my car before moving to Sydney just because the public transport system was so good. It was going to be too expensive to look after. And if you're living on campus, that's even better. You can really just roll out of bed at 9 AM and still make your 9 AM lecture, which is a big perk. And we're really close to a lot of the really iconic Australian landmarks here. We've got the Opera House and Sydney Harbour Bridge that are really only about a 10-minute bus ride down there. A lot of our American students often refer to a college town. We don't really have one, being close to the city, but we do have Newtown, which is a really great place for nightlife, restaurants, cafes. It's a really great student hangout that's quite close by. A bit of history about the University of Sydney. We formed in 1850 and we're heavily based on Oxford and Cambridge universities. A lot of students call our architecture sort of Hogwarts-like, and that's basically because Hogwarts, Harry Potter was filmed at Oxford or Cambridge, I forget which one, and we pretty much, the architect got told to make it look like that, so we do look very similar. We're ranked 42nd out of over 20,000 universities worldwide, and our application system is heavily based on academic merit. There are some portfolios that you need to complete for some of the architecture degrees, and Erica and Ariel will talk more in depth about that, I'm sure. But the main emphasis is on your academic qualification. And this is just a nice photo of what we looked like in around 1850 or 1860. That's all pretty much changed apart from the building in the back. And while there are many classes taught there, it's mainly now for ceremonial purposes. And we've had a lot of, sort of purpose-built buildings that are still being upgraded constantly around the campus. We've taught 7 students that have gone on to become Prime Ministers. 2 of the last 3 Prime Ministers are actually University of Sydney alum. And the rate we go through them, there's probably a couple more by 2030, I reckon, as well. There are a few other really sort of notable alumni we've got there as well. Again, we've got around 70,000 students, or getting there close soon. Over 145 nationalities make up the student cohort that you study with. We've got about 9,000 staff as well as a massive alumni network you can get in touch with. And it's definitely not just an Australian university. I get that question a lot. These are students that are coming internationally. Again, we're about 30% international students. They're not all staying in Australia. They're going off to find jobs in their home countries or throughout the rest of the world. And if you're looking at some other options as well, apart from architecture and design, we've got over 400 different study areas you can choose to study in. These are some of our rankings as well. I'll leave it up to Erica to talk a little bit more about our architecture rankings. But you can see we are pretty good in a bunch of different areas. We have a lot of questions asking what are we best known for, and I'd say it depends on what area you're in. We are pretty good at everything that we do here. All right, and this is just a bit of the timeline. Some of you might be coming from the Northern Hemisphere, so you notice that summer and winter are the correct way around in this scheme. We have 2 semesters. Most of our degrees you can start in either one, and applications close about a month ahead of the commencing time. So in semester 1, applications will close at around the end of January, and in semester 2 at the end of June. That's when applications will close. All right, and Sydney's definitely more than just a classroom, Sydney University. The people you meet here will sort of be a part of your life for the rest of it as well. We've got over 70,000 students, 145 nationalities, just to rehash some of that, and over 200 student clubs and societies you can be part of as well. Sport and fitness, so you can do that alongside of your studies. We have a lot of student athletes. We've had over 145 Olympic athletes come out of the University of Sydney. So it's a really vibrant campus, and there's really no excuse to be bored on campus, as my boss would say. All right, and adding on to that, that note that the University of Sydney is really not just an Australian university. We're 4th in the world for graduate employability. So our students are using their degree and relying on the reputation a lot from the University of Sydney to go off and get a job as well. People know that our graduates have the skills and connections to be able to work in a lot of different sectors. And this is just something that we really like to point out, we're really proud of. Okay, and that's pretty much enough from me. I'll leave it to Erica and Ariel to take over the rest of the presentation. Again, if you've got any questions, if you're just joining us, there's a chat function down at the bottom of your screen. You can use that to get in touch with us, and we can ask any questions going on there. We've had a couple of questions that's come through now. We've got a couple of people joining us from Mexico, India, and a few others. Keep the questions coming in as well, that's great. And we'll get to them at the end in the Q&A session as well. All right, I'll leave it up to you guys to take on the rest of the presentation.
Yeah, and so welcome everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. We've got Ethel from Mexico, Manjira from Mumbai. Welcome. I'm Erica Anzamosford from the School of Architecture, Design and Planning, and I'd also like to introduce my colleague. This is Ariel Marshall, and she's a current PhD candidate with the school. Hey everyone. So architecture is a lot more than just the buildings. It goes further than that, and it actually encompasses the entire human experience.
It's really, in architecture at Sydney is really interdisciplinary. We have an interdisciplinary approach to architecture. So it means you're not only dealing with learning about buildings and how they're designed, but also how architecture interacts with other disciplines like history, science, philosophy, fine arts, and the social sciences, which is something that I have really started to enjoy in my PhD research, which is looking at the interaction of art and architecture.
And we have a question from Ethel about how many students are accepted per semester. I think for undergraduate, we have about 800 new students that start with us per year. For postgraduate, it's around 600. And they're split fairly evenly at postgraduate level between domestic students and international students, and about 60% are domestic students and undergraduate. Okay, why study the built environment? Well, we have a number of specialisations at the school that you can choose to select at the postgraduate level as well as undergraduate, including heritage conservation, architecture, high performance buildings, as well as sustainable design. We weave these themes into a lot of the undergraduate degrees, or you can choose to select a master specific course in the stream if that's where you'd like to specialise.
Some of the challenges that we face as architects today, which I've sort of encountered after studying architecture and then working in architectural firms, is firstly sustainability. So obviously climate change is one of the biggest issues that the world is facing, but especially for architects, we have to understand how to build for a changing climate and for a climate crisis. The other one, of course, is the force of urbanization, where the world is becoming more and more built in different continents. And as architects, we're going to be very much international in where we might find work afterwards. So they're two of the challenges that we really face today as architects that are emphasised in the course.
Yeah, that's right. We're always responding to the needs of the current urban environment. And we have 3 undergraduate streams that you can choose amongst our degrees. We have the design computing, which is also available in Bachelor of Design Computing and Bachelor of Advanced Studies. We've got 2 majors in the area. We have the major of design, which is actually around design innovation and design thinking, as well as biological design, which is ideal for students that like working in the scientific area and want to move scientific practice forward. Now, the Bachelor of Architecture and Environment, we'll talk about that a bit more later. It's a broader degree, it can lead to an architecture qualification, but it also talks about the urban environment which most of us live in today. And of course, we've got the flagship degree of Design in Architecture, which is the premier qualification to become a practicing architect in Australia. There's more of a range available across our postgraduate programs. We have architectural science, which is available in a range of streams. You can choose to do 1 or you can choose to do 2. Audio and acoustics, high performance buildings and illumination design. And we have a whole stream of degrees in the area of urbanism, as well as the Master of Urban and Regional Planning, which is actually leads to the Urban and Regional Planning qualification. Now, I wanted to tell you a little bit about a new degree that we have, and it's the Master of Design. It's available in 2 streams, Master of Design, Design Innovation, or Master of Design, Strategic Design. It's a degree that only was launched late for semester 2 last year, and we've had a good uptake with it because it's a little bit different to the other programs that we offer. It's about design thinking and sort of aiding organisations come up with new ways and create new innovations so that they can actually lead their organisations to commercial success. If you choose 2 streams, it's a 2-year program, and it's available to students from any undergraduate discipline. With our undergraduate degrees, there are 3 work areas that they can lead to. Now, if you're looking at doing something in the area of building, something in the area of environment or urbanism, and you're not quite specifically sure of exactly which area you'd like to go down, then we recommend the Bachelor of Architecture and Environment. So it's ideal for people that want a broader, more general education, and it can lead into a range of our postgraduate degrees across architectural science, heritage conservation, urban design, and urban and regional planning. Perfect for the student that doesn't want to get locked into one specific field. If you're interested in architecture specifically or architecture only, then we'd recommend the Bachelor of Architecture and Design. That's the qualifying degree, the premier qualifying degree in Australia, and it leads on to the Master of Architecture, which then gives you your architectural qualification. Now, that is also available with an honours stream and a combined program with the Master of Architecture. That's a vertically integrated program, and it's ideal if you also consider going on to a research degree. This is just a bit of a pathway of what one of our alumni have done from the Bachelor of Architecture and Environments. You can see after completing the degree, they actually got a role at Lendlease, which is one of the major construction organisations in Australia. Someone from Design Computing, after completing the degree, he has gone to New York and worked with an organisation called CC, which actually focuses on creating these really fantastic modern new urban spaces around New York. So as I was mentioning previously, the Bachelor of Architecture and Environment has a broader focus, and so it goes beyond just the building design. However, when you graduate from the Bachelor of Architecture and Environment, you can go on to the Master of Architecture, and then you have the same qualification as though you had done the Bachelor of Design in Architecture. But beyond that, it also prepares you for a whole range of fields in the building and urbanism areas. Bachelor of Design and Architecture. Now that's specifically for people that want to go on to professional practice in design and architecture, and they're sure that they want to go on into that particular stream. And that degree is combined with an honours program as well as a Master of Architecture.
So the architecture studios, if you're doing the Bachelor of Design in Architecture, are really the core part of your course. So every semester you'll have a new studio where you're given a creative project and a brief, just like you would in architectural practice. And over the course of, say, 12 weeks, you'll be developing that project. And it's really a chance for you to understand how the architectural project can develop over a long period of time, and to get feedback of your tutors who are either professional architects or researchers like myself, who can give you feedback on how to improve and how to make your project more complex, more sophisticated.
And one of the questions we do often get about studios is whether or not they're included in the Bachelor of Architecture and Environment. Yes, they are, but we have half the studio time available in that degree. So you might do, I think you do 12 credit points in total in the Bachelor of Architecture and Environment studio, but it's more than that in the Bachelor of Design and Architecture. Now, a little bit about design computing. This is a really up and coming field to prepare people to work in user experience design. It's pretty much about designing interfaces between human beings and computers, and it's really a growing discipline for the school, and we're seeing graduates come out with great outcomes of this one. A little bit about our postgraduate degrees. We have a range of them available. The qualifying degree for architecture is the Master of Architecture. We also have a Master of Architectural Science, which is ideal for people who want to work in the architectural science area. We do get a lot of registered architects going into it, but we also get people from different backgrounds. Master of Interaction Design and Electronic Arts. There's two streams that you can go into that. One, which is more closely aligned to a product design, an interactive online product design, as well as more of a visual design where you can go off and do creative contemporary designs, often that you see in exhibitions such as shown at Vivid here in Sydney once a year. Urbanism is a growing area and a very special interest of the school, and we have a range of urbanism and urban planning tools available at postgraduate level. Okay, a little bit about the Master of Architecture. As I mentioned, it's the qualifying degree if you want to practice architecture in Australia at the highest level. Now, there are a couple of steps to actually get that qualification. You must complete a Bachelor of Design in Architecture, or you could also complete the Bachelor of Architecture and Environment. You can actually obtain some employment in Australia at that stage, but you're unable to call yourself a registered architect if you only have the 3-year qualification. You then go on to complete the Master of Architecture, and that's a recognised 5-year pathway to practice. Then after working for a minimum of 2 years, you pass your registration examination.
So there's a few pathways to come into the architecture degree or the architecture school. And one way is actually using the portfolio, where you can show us examples of your work. This might be creative work or work if you're going into the Masters of Architecture, yes. So if you're going into the Masters of Architecture, it will be from work experience.
As well as that, we need to also review your portfolio submission. So all applicants are required to submit a portfolio for assessment. The specifications are up on the website. They should be a maximum of 15 pages, A3, PDF or JPEG format. Now, we don't have too much information about specifically what the assessors would like to have in that portfolio, because at postgraduate level, the expectation is that your undergraduate degree would have prepared you, and you should have sort of an inherent understanding of what to do in the portfolio. One area that's important is creativity. Also the general design aesthetic. So the assessor will be looking to see that you've carefully and thoughtfully placed items on the page with application to the Master of Architecture specifically in mind. They're not looking for, quick cut and paste and throwing a document together. It should be a thoughtful piece with a certain modern aesthetic. They also do read what you put in your portfolio, so make sure that you edit it and do a proofread before you submit it, and also make sure that it's neat and tidy and presented as a portfolio specifically for assessment. You also need to provide a little bit of an outline as to what your role was in the project and what it is that you're showing the assessors. Okay, now the Master of Architectural Science, a lot of that is about the science related to building, a lot of measurements, surveying the quantities that are used, and as well as how we can retrofit buildings and make them perform better. And these are the principles that are taught during the course. It's available in a few streams: audio acoustics, illumination design, sustainable design, and you can choose a single stream, or if you choose 2 years, the degree. If you choose 2 streams, the degree will then take 2 years. Master of Interaction Design and Electronic Arts, again, we've got that available in 2 streams. You can choose illumination design or audio and acoustics, or you can do both. Now, we do have 2 types of students that choose to do this degree. We have students that are more focused on creating the design items that we see, like on apps or so on. One example that I saw recently was a student. She designed a heart monitor that a pregnant lady puts on her belly, and she can actually visualise the baby's heartbeat. So there's that type of design element. Or you could choose another stream in the program. You can go down the really creative visual art type pathway, and graduates from that we often see doing interactive light displays and exhibiting at modern art galleries and so on. Master of Urbanism. Urbanism is a specialisation of the school, and it's currently growing in expertise at the school, and we're seeing more urbanism academics actually joining. There's a lot of social science that's involved in the teaching of it, and it's very cross-disciplinary. And you can choose a few streams: urban design, heritage conservation, or urban and regional planning. So I've got a question about graduate certificates. How many courses can I take per semester? Now, not all of them are available full-time. I can't remember off the top of my head, so I might have to respond to that to Ethel later. Most of the graduate certificates need to be done on a part-time basis. So if you're a domestic student, then that's not an issue, but it can be difficult for international students to get the visa because they're only available part-time. Okay. Now, just a little bit about the facilities at the school. We've got a really fabrication facility, which is actually really well stocked up with a range of fabrication machinery which students can book, and it's open 24 hours for student use. with certain supervision. We've also got the indoor environment quality lab that looks at measures air quality and so on, which is used by a lot of students. We've got an audio and acoustics lab as well. And these facilities are all available throughout your degrees. These are just some images so that you can see. This is the audio acoustics lab. This is some 3D modelling. You know, we have a range of computer labs open 24 hours for students. Some laser cut. Oh no, that's actually the 3D printer machine. We've got a number of those available. The robotic arm for cutting and making shapes. Have you ever used the robotic arm? Yeah, what did you use it for?
So when you're doing model making, which is a massive part of the studios, you do a lot of 3D modeling, and this is actually a CNC machine. So you can do sort of molds if you want to do a site model or different kinds of different types of cuts. It's really cool.
Now, one thing that is special about the school and worth pointing out is that the majority of classes are actually conducted at a building called Wilkinson, and it's one of the smaller schools, even though it's still a pretty large school in its own right. But there is a sense of community there, and all students, they spend a lot of time together in the studios, and they get to develop good friendships over their study with us. And there really is a strong community and a strong student association, which helps students meet with industry and do a range of social events as well.
And while you're doing your undergrad degree, you have the home studio where all of the undergrad students are all working together. And then if you are in the master's program, you have the master's studio. So you are really mixed in with other students, and you always have the opportunity to comment on each other's work and really, foster a great studio lifestyle. It's great.
Now, I've got a couple of questions that have come in. Master, how demanding would you say? I think that's how demanding is the Master of Architecture. If you do it full time, it is a course which we sort of expect students to go through quickly, and we expect students to have had the appropriate undergraduate training, so it can be vigorous. How did you find it, Ariel?
So I did my undergrad, but I didn't do my Master of Architecture. So I think the Master of Architecture is usually people have gone and worked for, maybe they've had some work experience, so they understand what's expected of an architectural project. I would still say it's as demanding as the undergrad, but because you already have a solid grasp of what's expected in an architectural project, I think that people can manage doing part-time work on top of that. I think.
Yeah, and also students, everyone in it's quite motivated, aren't they?
That's right. Yeah, I think the people that are there for the Master of Architecture, they know that they want to practice as an architect, so they're willing to do the work and get it done.
Okay, just a little bit, just to finish up a couple of points about some of our students and the success they've had. Now William here, he is actually a UN youth delegate, and he's developed a way to actually help create housing for refugees, and he was recognised for that at the General Assembly of the United Nations in New York last year. And finally, there is a real sort of social responsibility aspect that the students in the school follow. This is a project called Freswinds, which is actually in Vanuatu. A school was destroyed by a natural disaster a few years ago. And academics were sort of involved in redeveloping that area, and the students have kind of taken this project and really moved it forward, and they've raised the funds to actually create a new school, and they're working on designing and building it, and I think they're actually ready to start teaching students in it soon, and it's been going since 2017. Okay, so that's the end of the formal presentation. If anybody has any more questions, Ariel and I and Sean are all here to help you answer them. Would someone attend a lecture from a different faculty? It depends what program you're in, but I think what you're asking there is whether or not you can do units of study in other faculties in your degrees with architecture, design and planning. Actually, you can't in the most architecture, design and planning. They do have a broad range of elections that are available from within the school. And so we sort of find that students have enough choice, the choice that they need, but there aren't actually many instances where students can take units of study in other degrees.
Yeah, some of the electives, for instance, in architecture are really useful and really interesting. So for instance, I was doing art processes for the most part of my electives because we have these really great workshops downstairs where you can do printmaking, like digital photography, video editing, sculpture, even object design. So I think within the architecture faculty, you have a really broad range of choice if you want to take up an extra course. Yeah.
Another thing that's available in the school is internships. So an internship is available in any of the degrees that are offered, both undergraduate and postgraduate. You can even do up to 2 internships in some of the degrees. They're taken as electives. The school has lots of opportunities where you can actually connect with employers. They frequently have them on campus and they facilitate meetings between students and employers just to give you the opportunity to actually get an internship, which of course helps with employability after the degree, available in all undergraduate and postgraduate courses. Oh, and somebody's just asked me on that note. Do you have anything to add on that from your experience?
Industry connections. I remember they have a lot of great events in the faculty, and some of them will be industry focused. So we'll have practicing architects come and speak to us, and we'll have the opportunity to socialise with them afterwards. So that's definitely a way to, in an informal way, get some opportunities from industry.
That's right. Ariel, do you want to tell us a little bit about your research project? This might be interesting for people to hear.
Yeah, so I mean, I'll give you a little bit of an introduction to me as well.
Yes,
so
please.
I just grew up in Sydney, so I came straight out of high school and did the undergrad design degree. I ended up doing the honours course, which is 1 year of intensive research with one of my previous lecturers who I met in 3rd year. So my specialty has become more and more focused on history and theory of architecture, which is a subject you'll be able to take up in undergrad and in the master's programs. Following my honours, I actually lived abroad in Paris and did my Masters of Art and came back and did the PhD program, which is a Doctor of Philosophy at in the School of Architecture. So my research really looks at the dialogue between art and architecture as it was happening in the early 20th century. And I have a specific focus on the city of Paris in that, which has been really great. I'm in my 1st year, so I've had the opportunity to present my research at local conferences, but also internationally. And it's really, been a way for me to bring together the undergrad degree that I had in architecture and my master's in art. So there's definitely opportunity to go into a research-focused path if you're looking for that in the School of Architecture.
I should also add that international experiences are very much part of the school, especially in the discipline of architecture, where there's an expectation that students will actually go out and travel the world and actually observe different architectural styles and note those differences so that it can inform their own practice when they graduate. And so we have many international studios offered to students across the world. Recently, we had a group come back from Tokyo, Vienna, across Europe, the South Pacific as well, Vietnam, Indonesia. So a whole range of places, and there's opportunities like this throughout the degree.
That's right. And they do come up throughout, depending on what's available.
Depending on what's happening,
so when I was in 2nd year, for instance, I travelled to Sri Lanka on a 4-week studio, which was fabulous. So we got to see the style that had emerged in Sri Lanka in the 20th century, and we decided to do a studio inspired by what we saw. And we came back to Sydney at the end of that and got to present our work in an exhibition, which was held in the School of Architecture. So there's really great opportunities to take up if you're willing to do that.
That's right.
Any other questions?
Any other questions?
It doesn't look like it at the moment,
Okay.
so you can still hear me, but you can't see me. Yeah, we just had a question come in about scholarships.
There's a number of scholarships that are available across the university. I actually don't know the detail of those off the top of my head, within the school, we do have a scholarship available for students in the Master of Interaction Design and Electronic Media. And that's actually a $10,000 scholarship that's available once to students.
Yeah. So if you're looking for a bit more information on scholarships, we do encourage you to go and look at the scholarships website, because they can give you much more detailed information than us on that. So if you look on the useful contacts, it's just under the international student scholarships. And you really want to look at the ones which are available to international students.
And I should say that actually for 2020, we've had quite a bit of success at the school, actually having applicants be successful for the scholarships. So I really recommend you look at the university scholarships. I think we've had 8 people coming in with scholarships this year for 2020.
Okay, which design software, this is a question from Jury, which design software commonly used in architectural practice in Sydney? Okay, so this can range depending on the size of the practice and what sort of programs they're dealing with. So for instance, it could be Revit, which is a 3D modeling software. It's very popular in corporate offices. In more residential offices, you'll often find things like Vectorworks, ArchiCAD, AutoCAD. In more design-focused offices, you'll see things like Rhino 3D. But it really depends on their specialty. And in the courses, we'll be touching on the most part of these softwares. So you'll have at least an introduction to them before you go out and seek some work. I hope that answers your question.
Awesome. That might just wrap it up then. If you guys have any more questions or anything in depth that we weren't able to touch on, please get in touch with us at the international recruitment email at the top there. Again, it might be a bit odd hearing from me as a disembodied voice.
He's right there. I promise you, he's right there.
Yeah. Otherwise, check out some of the rest of these links here as well. And I just like, you can't really clap, we can't really hear you, but I'd just like you to sort of in your minds thank each of our presenters here, Erica and Ariel, for joining us today and offering their insights. It's been really great. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you found it valuable. And unless you guys have anything else to add, we might
Thanks,
end
Sean.
it now.
It's been a pleasure.
Look forward to seeing you.
Okay.
Okay.